Hello, 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 friends, and happy Monday, Philly Bish. I see you in chat. Hi there, friend. I'm so excited that we get to be here once again. I didn't mean to go to the full cam, but we're going to chalk that up to Mondays. So here we are on our Monday episode of Pink Pixels, diving into the educateHERs series, which I absolutely adore. As always, this is our space to recharge, to connect, and to find new perspectives in the gaming space. And I love this particular series being in the education mindset. You know, we've got schools that are underway. We all know students. Maybe we are one ourselves or we know people, right? This is the place where we're starting to see so much groundwork that is being built that is going to have massive repercussions for the gaming industry as a whole. And it doesn't matter what level's at. You know, we might think collegiate level or high school or even middle school and even some in elementary, right? Because all of us play games, right? Anywhere and everywhere. It doesn't matter if it's mobile, some it's on PlayStation or Switch. This is a phenomenon that is impacting every part of everyone's life. We play in it, we take part of it. It influences how we perceive and engage with one another, the stories that we take in, and to see it on the educational level where we get to reach one another, where we get to frame and create structure and think about not only, of course, create venues in which we get to interact and play these games and be competitive, but we also get to think about how we're going about doing this. Why do we set this up? Who do we welcome into these spaces? How do we begin creating structure? And then from these spaces, these educational hubs where we get to learn about how we make it better for ourselves and for others, then they go off and they grow and they become, you know, all these amazing individuals within the gaming space. And we see these ripple effects. And so we're starting off on such an important step of where we begin, of where the gaming space now is really hyper focusing or continuing, I guess, in this hyper focus to make sure we're thinking about how do we continue to build from here, especially in the esports area, right? Esports is growing in some ways and shrinking in others. Like it's been this weird bubble of sorts that keeps fluctuating. And it's because we're trying to learn, like, what is esports? How do we define it? Who partakes in it? And so these discussions begin with the teams themselves. They belong to the gamers. It belongs to these communities within the esports area. And today we're diving into more of those conversations. We're illuminating what does it mean to be in esports? What does it mean to be a part of this space, to be gamers and who we are? And not just, of course, very one narrow minded, shallow take like I am a gamer, I play this game, that's it, but seeing who we are holistically. Because when we game, we don't just bring one part of ourselves, we bring our whole selves to it. And that's how we become the best kind of gamer that we can be. Tonight, we have an absolutely amazing individual who's going to lead us in our conversation as we learn more about the esports, but also the broader conversation of how gaming is changing, how we view it, and how we can experience it holistically. So I cannot wait for you all to meet Jeanna. So if you would all be ever so kind, give a round of applause to our wonderful guest this evening. Hello, hello.
Hi. Hi, Lily. So happy to be here. Thank you
We're
for
so
having me.
excited to have you here. Yes, tell us all about you.
Oh my goodness. So I was born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia, which is the hub of esports right now.
Woo!
Yeah, they're doing an amazing job. And shortly after I started everything in esports and got connected with everybody, our family made a big decision and we moved to Michigan. A teeny tiny little town in Michigan, but we did it for many, many reasons. And one of them being family, which is super important to myself and my family. Um, so we live in this teeny tiny town and I love it so much. We also have so much more weather here than Atlanta does with the hot and humid. So we're getting used to snow and having some hot-ish summer days, but we get spring and fall, we get everything. So it's been really nice change. So we've been here for about a year and I still come back to Atlanta a lot to do gaming stuff and to see family as well. So yeah, here we are uh, continuing with our esports and other work and familial stuff.
A little of everything and anything, right? At
Yeah,
this point.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
I can't believe you're making the flight several times to go all the way from Michigan to Georgia. That
Yeah.
is a flight migration that no bird is jealous of either.
Well, I'd rather fly than drive because we drove it twice moving
Oh,
up here with a 26-foot U-Haul.
oh,
Um,
ugh.
so don't recommend that at all. But yeah, flying is tricky too because we live so out of the way.
Oh,
A
wow.
lot of times we'll either go to Grand Rapids or all the way to Detroit to try and find a more connecting flight or direct flight, I should say. But yeah, doing a lot of traveling while I'm out here in the
Okay.
middle of
Yeah, yeah. So you're racking up the flight miles at this point, and that's also the additional
nowhere.
challenge of like not living in a city that's really close to like an international airport. So it's like now
Mhm,
we have to have a drive to take the
mhm.
flight to go to the town that we want to go
Yes,
visit.
but right, absolutely.
How
Yeah,
many different modes of transportation can we fit into this trip?
right. All of
Yes.
the modes.
Yes. And yet you make this trip multiple times because you love gaming. But I want us
Yeah,
to rewind this
yeah.
story a little bit. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Follow me on this because, right, we know here you are, gamer mom, esports aficionado, but you weren't always at that level. What made you, even at the very beginning, go, I love video games? This is where I
Yeah.
want to be.
So I started playing video games. My dad had an Atari and an Intellivision.
Ooh, okay,
So
yes.
we started playing video games a long time ago. And I loved it. My brother and I would sit and play games
Mhm.
and try to figure out strategies and get better and all this stuff. And then we got our first computer, a
Ooh.
Commodore 64 138.
Oh, dang.
Oh yeah. And that's actually what my brother learned how to he taught himself how to program. And he works in the internet securities industry now. So go him. I never wanted to learn how to program. That never interested me,
Yeah.
but I wanted to play the games. So, oh man, the original NES,
Mm.
Super Mario.
Mhm.
We, I mean,
Yep. Got to blow the
those
cartridge because it
leaving at the
magically
game
made it better.
yes, it did. It fixed it all the time. Leaving the game system on all night because you couldn't save your progress,
Yes. Yes.
because you were on World 7 and, like, you didn't wanna lose all that? Come on.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, I try to play it now, and, like, jumping over the lava pits in the castles give me so much anxiety.
Yes.
I don't know how I did it as a kid, but I loved it.
Mhm.
And then I think my love really picked up Sega Genesis, love Sonic, and
Mhm.
then, PlayStation 2. When the
Yes.
PlayStation 2 came out, I was done. I mean, I was a total gamer.
Yeah.
I also had a really cool experience with friends back in the day. I mean, we played D&D back when you would dress up and go out in the
Yes.
woods and make your
Go LARPing.
weapons. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I still have my original sheet for my character from D&D back from high school.
What? You have to have
Mhm.
that framed, right? Like this is
I
like
know,
here's
right?
history.
She's still kicking. So I've been in the gaming world for a long time and I've always loved it. I was a band nerd growing up. And so I guess gaming was my disconnect from reality. Like I could relax, I could recharge, I could recenter. It was my self-care, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, yeah, so that's kind of where everything started. And then I had kids. And my eldest son started playing video games at 2 years old, holding a little PlayStation controller,
Oh,
trying to
yeah.
figure it all out.
Yeah.
And his love of gaming evolved and morphed as the esports world was also evolving and morphing.
Mhm.
And I just became a supportive mom
Yes.
and just encouraged his outlet that that's what he enjoyed and accepted that as this is what we're going to support for him.
Mhm.
And it turned into uh, some amazing things back right before COVID hit. He kept telling me about Rocket League and how he was getting really good, and he showed me his like online score sheet, like his official rankings and
Yeah.
stuff. And living in Georgia, he was ranked in like the top 50 players of Georgia, of the state. I was like,
Hold on,
who
you're
are
good at
you?
this.
Yeah. So I was like, well, are they doing these kinds of things in college? So I
Yeah.
looked up NACE
Mhm.
and we got him a profile and we started getting recruitment connect communications. And he got offered $30,000 to go to school and play Rocket League and get his college education.
Like, yes, sign me up. Sign me up.
Yes.
That is probably the biggest selling point. Like, there are other scholarships that are out there. There are not as many that are that size.
This realization just hit me over the head. I was like, what in the world? So at the same time, I mean, he's like 18, 19 years old at
Yeah.
that point, and I'm thinking, if only we had had something for him growing up, because now I
Mm-hmm.
have younger kids,
Mm-hmm.
and if only we had something for them where
Yeah.
they could plug into this world as they grow up
Mm-hmm.
so that they're prepared for college and
Yes.
careers and things like that, and they understand the health and wellness behind it, that it's so similar to ballet and soccer and
Mm-hmm.
basketball and
Yes.
football. Like,
The
the
same degree of
community,
investment, right?
yeah, the
Yes.
community is so similar. And so I started making all of those connections. And I talked to my husband and said, there might be something here. There might be something pretty amazing here that we could do
Mm-hmm.
with these kids to plug them in and find these kids that don't have any other place to plug in
Yeah.
and give them that outlet
Mm-hmm.
that Philippe didn't have, our son. Um,
Which is a shame that, like, it's great that we see it at the collegiate level, but it's like you shouldn't have to wait that long to
if
find
that's
your
your
plug
first
in.
experience with it, yeah,
Yeah.
that's late.
Yeah.
I mean, and the same with other recreational sports, like getting into it that late.
Mm-hmm.
It can be done. Obviously, it can be done well, but if
It's
you
harder.
have all those skill sets that you could learn through a youth development program.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started building this idea, and then of course COVID hit, and I'm like, well, how are we going to do this with COVID?
Yes.
How are we going to do anything with COVID? Um, but I'm sitting, working remotely. Thank goodness I was able to continue to work remotely.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there through the day, taking little breaks and thinking about esports all the time and doing research and reaching out and connecting with people like Andrew Greenberg,
Yeah.
who's become my mentor.
Mm-hmm.
He is the president of the Georgia Game Developers Association. And just through his um, encouragement,
Mm-hmm.
continued to move forward. He was doing it. He was one of the only ones that I knew that was doing it. And then their team had to kind of shut down because COVID and,
Yeah.
leadership moving and things like that. Well, I started going to the Game Developers Association meetings. I'm like, I'm not a game developer, never
Mm-hmm.
developed a game.
Mm-hmm.
But I went to the meetings, and they're like, who is this chick that keeps showing up? I'm
You're
like,
like,
who is
I'm
this chick?
here.
Introducing, yeah, literally just showed up and said, here I am.
Uh-huh.
This is what I want to do. And they're like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I want to work with kids. I want to work with
Mm.
kids. Um, I want to teach them about the esports industry and what does that look like? And from a kid's perspective. And I said, I really can see, my kids, I have participated in extracurricular sports. My kids have participated in things. I
Right.
feel like esports could live in that same world,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to figure out how to make it happen.
Yeah. You've been
Yeah.
making all these connections, right? Like you have the
Yeah.
perspective, even earlier when you were listing like that long lineage of different consoles that you've
Yeah.
evolved through. Like you understand this space. You don't make it, but
Yes.
you understand what the work the
Yeah.
devs
I've
are
been here.
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you also have the vision of being a mom and seeing like your kids go through these systems, these experiences, these extracurriculars and go,
Yeah.
why are these separate?
Yes. And surely my kids aren't the only ones. There's so many. I'm talking to my friends and just random people I'm meeting and saying, what if this kind of existed? What if your kid's game? What would that look
Mhm.
like for them? Like, oh my gosh, that would be so amazing.
Yes.
And then there's also some like, I don't know. I don't know if I don't want my kid gaming all the time. And I'm like, well, you have to support them in that space. What else are they doing? Are they
Mhm.
playing soccer? Are they doing other things? You support them in those spaces. Why
Mm.
wouldn't you support them in this space too?
Ooh, see, that's an
Uh,
interesting double standard, right? Because we hear that, like, oh, my
yeah,
kid's involved in like 8 different sports, right? Or they live and breathe softball, but why can't they
yeah.
do the same with something else that makes
Right.
them just
Are
as
they
excited?
truly passionate about this video gaming? And let's open up a world to them that maybe they and their parents didn't know existed,
Mm-hmm.
that is very similar to this softball world that they live and breathe.
Yeah.
That, if they're playing these video games, they're living and breathing the video games too.
Yes.
Let's open that world up and show them what it really consists of.
Mm-hmm.
And so Eastside Esports was born about
Yeah.
3 years ago. and
So was
in
this like
Atlanta.
a dream? Like at the head, you're like, we're gonna start
Oh my
this.
gosh, I was so excited. When I decided on the name, I
Yeah.
ran through the house and I was like, Daniel, my husband, Daniel, Eastside Esports. And he said, what? I'm like, Eastside Esports, EEL, because I already had the logo picked out. I picked out this little guy.
You're like the
I love
beautiful
this.
eel, like good smooth
Yes,
take. Yeah, no
yes,
other eels are on the market right now in the
right.
esports area, so it's
Oh, I
perfect for the
researched. I
taking.
was like, this is no that's out there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this guy found this guy, and I was like, EEL with eels, Eastside Esports. And at the time, I lived on the east side of
Yes.
Atlanta, so it all made sense.
Yeah, yeah. So
Um,
all east side. It
yeah,
works. It works. It's fluid.
yeah. And I was like, okay. I mean, creating a business
Yes.
was an interesting experience. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there's so many facets to it.
Yes.
Never done that before. And I just kind
Yeah.
of figured it out as I went. I'm like, what pieces am I missing?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well, let's
as
talk about that because a lot of people are
yeah,
like, I know the gaming space, like I
right.
know how to play this game. But you're
Yeah,
talking about like, hey, there's a whole business, there's
yeah,
structure behind it, there's paperwork, right? There's how we
yeah.
connect with others. Like that's a whole area where people are like, what is this? How do I get into that part? So you came up with the name. Was that where it first began? And you're like, all right, let's go
Probably, because
register
that
this
was like the
sucker.
most fun part, right?
Well, I think
Getting
that's the
being
best part.
creative.
Yeah,
Yeah,
start where you're most
100%.
excited when you're like, I
100%.
got the eels.
Right. Yeah. So then I had to go online and be like, how do you start a business in
Yeah.
Georgia? And like, what kind of business do you want to be? So I figured like the easiest thing's probably a LLC. And through talking to mentors and stuff, like the people that I was meeting,
Yeah.
I'm like, how do you even start a business?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
have friends who've started businesses. So just kind of connecting with my network. And so
Mm.
that's the boring stuff. You have to go on to the IRS and fill out the tax paperwork. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to make any money off of this. And it isn't about the money.
Yeah.
I don't really care about the money. It's about these kids. I want to give them a space, accessibility.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then, filling out and then, so there was like the state level stuff,
Yeah.
the county level stuff. I'm working in the county that I live in. What
Mm-hmm.
do I have to do? So interestingly enough, though, at the same time that I'm doing this, Andrew Greenberg says, reach out to your parks and recreation, reach out to your county and see what they're doing, see what they're talking about. Because he's at the state level trying to talk to these people.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, we'll see what they're doing. Well, they're like, oh, you do esports? Oh, we have space for that. We have like a whole esports space. What, you
A
have a what?
space?
Yes. You have a what? Like, yeah, we just launched it. I'm like, I thought I was pretty plugged into my little
Yeah.
community.
Yeah.
No clue. No clue.
There they
So
are
I go
doing
to
these secret hidden efforts over here. Like,
no,
what
right,
is
they were out there. So I guess one of Rockdale County's claim to fame is Grady Jarrett, who's a Falcons player.
mm-hmm.
And his foundation gave money to Rockdale County Parks and Recreation to outfit an esports room or like a community room. But it has like this cool setup, tables, chairs, game with the TVs and like even like a stadium seating. And
What?
it's so nice. I was like, I'm doing this on the side and like no clue that this even existed.
Yeah.
So lovely idea, but they didn't have internet yet.
Well,
Yeah. So that was a whole thing. Took forever for them to get to internet. I don't understand the whole backstory, but
mm-hmm. I mean, you can do some LAN parties, but that feels like, hey, you might
I
have
don't.
missed an
I
important
was not doing that. So I'm like, okay, so we're like in the midst of coming out of COVID and now we possibly have this space, but it's not ready yet. And I'm like, but I'm
Yes.
ready to go. I'm ready
Yes.
to go.
Yes.
So I went ahead and launched and we used Discord.
Mm-hmm.
The parents, give consent and are plugged in with these kids on the Discord. So we have our private Discord channel where everybody meets up. And we had like 12 kids. And I'm just like grassroots trying to like
Here we go.
get people here.
Yeah.
And we had 12 kids sign up. I was like, holy cow.
You know how many
That's a
high
lot of
school
kids.
clubs would be so jealous? You're like, you got 12? I started with
Right,
2,
yeah,
like that
yeah.
sort of thing.
And so we started with the ages of 8 to 17, and we really kind of sit in that 8 to 14 space.
Sure.
Because as they get older, they do have more opportunity in the high schools.
Yeah.
And they just loved it. I was like, okay, so I got to create I got to create curriculum. Like, what are these kids going to do? What am I going to
Mm-hmm.
talk to these kids about?
Mm-hmm.
So I found NASEF.
Yes.
This is a network of academic and scholastic federations.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a school, I'm just a person.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is great. They have resources on education around gaming. They have this ecosystem
Mm.
infographic thing. And I was like, I could use this.
Yes.
And so we were meeting for like 2 hours. And about the first 30 minutes, I have the kids' attention,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I pull something from NASEF and say, we're going to talk about health and wellness around gaming. Are you guys stretching? Let's stretch right now. Let's talk about what that feels like to
Mm.
move our body around. Are you
Yes.
drinking water? Are you
Ooh.
taking breaks? Like all this stuff. And then and the education stuff, and I can feel I'm starting to lose them. And we break out into these like Discord channels under our server
Yeah.
and they game. So I have a Fortnite group. I have Rocket League kids. I had Minecraft, but only because of NASEF. NASEF is a huge stepping stone like partner for us,
Mm-hmm.
because they provided the kids with Minecraft Education Edition. So I'm
Mm.
realizing as I'm building this, all of the games need to be free to play.
Yeah.
They all need to be cross-platform,
Mm-hmm.
and Minecraft is not. Some of the kids
Oh.
had Bedrock, some of them had Java. They're on their tablets, they're on their computers, they're doing all these different things. So NASEF was able to provide us a space where the kids could play Minecraft together on Minecraft Education Edition, and gave it to all my kids for free
Wow.
because we participated in their Minecraft challenges, Farmcraft and Minecraft.
Oh yeah.
So now I've got these new cool things where the kids are playing games, Minecraft, with kids all over the world.
Okay, that's amazing.
With
This feels like the
Minecraft.
old school, like, hey, they're pen pals, but much
Yeah,
better
yeah.
now.
So they're learning about cultures in Japan and Asia with these other kids that are also playing Minecraft. And I'm like, we have something here. This is amazing. The parents love it, the kids love it.
Yes.
I mean, it just works. It works. And I'm finding as I work, because I went through the NASEF like fellowship program, and I'm
Yes.
fingers crossed that I get to be a mentor this year. Haven't heard back yet, but we'll see. Um, Using these resources has provided us with the opportunity to not have what we worked with the Parks and Recreation a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but you hit red tape a lot when you're doing
Mm-hmm.
that. And in the schools, as I'm talking to people who are setting up their esports programs in schools,
Mm-hmm.
just roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. I don't have any roadblocks. I have my own business that I control,
Yeah.
and the parents who are totally plugged in, and the kids who are totally plugged in,
Yes.
and we can do whatever we want as long as everybody's cool with it.
That gives you a lot more flexibility.
So much
Yes.
freedom.
Okay.
And because we're so plugged in with all of these things in Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
um, we went to the CECC in 2022,
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was, or
Remind us,
2021.
CECC stands for.
It's um,
Sorry for the pop quiz. I was like,
Collegiate Esports Commissioners Cup.
yes, catchy name.
And so I met some great people. I keep name dropping. So I met Cooper and PK Graff and Todd Harris, who's amazing, doing amazing things in Atlanta with esports. The kids got to see actual college teams from all over the
Mm.
United States
Which is
come
exciting.
into one space,
Mm-hmm.
competing for like real trophies that they could see. We got behind the scenes tour so they could see what this like there's this huge curtain,
Yeah.
behind the stage. And so they took us back there with the kids and showed them like this is a production that's going
Yes.
on back here.
Yes.
And I'm saying, guys, these are job opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can you see yourself other than being the gamer on the front of the stage? Can you see yourself back here
Mm-hmm.
helping with camera angles and audio and just lighting and everything?
Yes. Well, and that's
So
that's the new thing behind it, right? Because we can say like, yeah, here's a list of all the different job titles. Here's all the things that you can do. And even then, like I remember even in middle school or even high school, like there's still only so many job titles that stick with you when you see the list. You're like, I'm just going to be a teacher because it's easy and everybody else knows about that. It's been
yeah,
publicized. But when you actually get to tour it, it now creates a story. It's a visualization. You're like, I don't need the job title. I can see what they're doing. I can see the effects of what they're doing. That action is going to be what's more interesting to me, especially because especially in the gaming industry, right? Like
right.
job titles are different for every company.
Yeah. It's so there's so much to it, and I'm hoping so. Just and going to conferences
Hmm.
myself, PAX East in Boston, which is where I found the Game Hers. Randomly walking through Boston's huge PAX East conference,
Yes.
and I see this little couch set up and the Game Hers and little hearts and stuff. I was like, what is this?
Yes.
And I was just starting my program, and I'm like, this is something I can get down with.
Hmm.
I'm a girl gamer.
This is for me. That's my couch.
People. Um, Finding NASA, finding things like LandFest, really hoping to partner with them in the near future to get some of the kids to be able to help set up the esports section
Yeah,
at a conference so they can see all the work that goes behind how that turns into what it looks like when you walk up and see it. How does
exactly.
that turn into that? So they're going to get to help partner with them.
Hmm.
Just so many cool things, cool experiences that I'm wanting to provide these kids that they
Yes.
wouldn't have if they just sat behind their console and games every night.
Yes.
So
Yes.
creating these experiences for them.
Well, and that's where you're thinking about this much more holistically. Sometimes when
Mhm.
people think like esports entering in to younger age groups, they're just thinking like, oh, you're just going to give them a room and they can play video games together, which
No.
sure, some really simple teams might do that. But what you're getting at is that this needs to be all about addressing every part of it. You're thinking career wise, you're thinking about community development, you're thinking about self care, you're thinking about both as a competitor and casual gamer, right? It's
Yes.
much more addressing how big this is and broadening their world in which they might experience it, not only as like, I'm a one time gamer where I do my
Right.
singular login and that's it. There's so much more to take advantage of
Yeah.
here. Wow.
So I started going to these conferences and I'm like, I need a little table, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
how do I bring awareness to what we're doing to multiple people?
Hmm.
So I think the first time I did it was at MomoCon. They give organizations a free space.
Hmm.
And it's like I'm not selling anything. Like
Yeah.
I'm just an org.
Hmm.
And so I was like Pokemon cards. Obviously, I love Pokemon a
Yes.
lot. Um,
Wait, time out.
Pokemon
One small
cards
side question. What's your favorite Pokemon?
right now.
Yes. I'll take that right now. Yeah.
Umbreon. I do love all of the EV
Oh,
evolutions, and I think I've had favorites over time, but I
okay.
think Umbreon's my favorite right now. I want to know what everybody else's.
Yes.
First of all, what's your favorite EV evolution? But second of all, what is your
Ooh.
favorite Pokemon period? Because
Ooh.
this is a big discussion that needs to be had.
This is very true. In chat, let us know
I
favorite
want to say,
Pokemon. Come on, type that
yeah,
out and favorite EV evolution. I'm gonna say
yes,
Umbreon as well, mainly because one of the latest Moon cards, right, like, is just breathtaking in its
yes.
artwork. I
And I
saw that. I
love
was
the
like,
Pokemon art.
it's art. It is.
Yeah. When is the 151? Did it come out yet? My son would tell me.
I can't remember.
The new ones. I don't know. They come
There's
out all the time.
Yeah, the
Um,
newest one, there is one new card that I absolutely adore. And I'm not a Charmander like I always thought Charizard was a little overdone.
the Obsidian
Yes.
Flame stuff is all about
Yeah.
Charizard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there is this promo card. And normally people are like, don't get excited about promo cards because you could just buy it. Like it's right there on the front. But there's
Yeah.
one and it's a little Charmander and he's looking through the window and his nose is pressed against the glass and he's so angry because there's Pidgeys playing in his little outdoor garden. He's like,
Baby.
I will
Oh.
send a picture of it to you. But like,
Yes,
right, like,
please.
wait, it's
I do
these.
love a shiny Charizard. That
Right.
black dragon.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But these are things like we've grown up, we've seen
Yeah.
Pokemon forever, and to
Mm.
see them still come alive and revisit the artwork from it, it's like
Yes.
art.
Yeah. So my eldest son hates it when I talk
Yes.
about him, but he's been into Pokemon since he was little. He's 24 now. I was like, surely it'll be a phase. He'll get out of it. No,
No.
Pokemon is a lifestyle, and I
Yes.
am living that lifestyle as well.
Yes.
I got the
Cheers.
T-shirt. Don't worry.
Ooh, Finnegan, the cute little fox, the little fire
Oh
fox.
yes,
Cute.
anything that's cat-like as well. Yes, love the
Yes.
cat.
Yes. Yes. And then we have
Um,
Sylveon.
yes, do
Ooh,
love a Sylveon.
beautiful.
She's so pretty. The
Mm-hmm.
shiny Sylveon with the blue. I think I have both of the stuffies.
Yeah.
One of them's right.
They're like,
One of them's right there.
demonstration.
Yes. Um, yeah. So going to MomoCon and setting up a table, I'm like, what do I do? Like, do I just throw flyers at people? I was like, no, Pokemon cards, like bulk Pokemon
Yes.
cards. Nothing good. We
Hmm.
take all the pricey ones out.
Yeah.
But I literally put up a sign that said free Pokemon cards.
That
That's
gets
gonna get the
people to
kids to come
stop.
over. Yes, adults too, yeah.
Yeah.
I got my little flyers ready, and I got my little, like, 10-second elevator speech ready to go, because that's about how
Yes.
long they're gonna allow me to talk to them.
Yeah.
So, they're like, "Free Pokemon cards." I'm like, "Yeah." So, pick a card, any card, and you get to keep what you pick. And I'm like, "What's the catch?" And I'm like, "Well, you're over here, and I get to talk to you now."
Yeah. We
That's
get to
it.
talk.
Right. So I work with kids ages 8
Yeah.
to 17. I have a
Mhm.
virtual esports program so kids from anywhere can join.
Mhm.
And we do education around gaming. And they're like, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
One mom, I swear, she started crying. She's like, this is what we have been looking for our kid. I had
Oh.
no idea that something like this even existed.
Mhm.
Where do we sign up? Like, so after a couple of years at MomoCon and doing this, we were in Atlanta and now we're in Michigan. I
Yeah.
have kids that play in Atlanta. I have kids that play in Michigan. I want kids from everywhere.
Yes. Yes.
I want anybody and everybody to know that this is what we're doing. And I want accessibility for these kids to be able to do it.
Mhm.
So I've been working with a new possible sponsor.
Ooh.
I can't make any announcements on that yet.
Ah,
But
okay, fair.
I do have one big announcement. Should we make it now or after right before the break? I
Let's
need some feedback on it.
let's go right before the break. Let's go right
Okay,
before the
so
break.
right
We'll wait
before the
another
break, we
30
have a big
minutes.
announcement.
Yeah.
Um, and so we just keep growing, and
Yeah.
I think we've had 30 kids matriculate through the program over the past 2.5 years now.
It's great.
And we just started up our next season a couple of weeks ago, and we have a good solid like 8 kids right now, but we're still working on it.
Mhm.
It's funny with kids too. It doesn't bother me that kids come and go through the program because kids try basketball and don't stick with it.
Oh
Kids
yeah.
try ballet and don't stick with it. It's fine by me.
Mhm.
But I stay in touch with everybody. Everybody gets our newsletters and things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
I'm hoping one day to make the program just free for everybody. I mean, I just wish I
Yes.
could be, but when you put a nominal cost on something, people kind of grasp onto that ownership of it
Mhm.
um, a little more responsible and dedicated to it.
Well, it's like my
So
gym membership. If it's
yeah,
free, I'll just never go. But if I'm
yeah.
paying
Well,
for it, I'm
I
like,
mean,
I gotta get my money's worth.
yeah, I'm like a lot of people pay for gym memberships and don't go anyway.
Yeah,
So
that's true. But you're right, like, but it also covers, basic administration and growth of
yeah,
the
they're like,
program.
what is this covering?
Yeah.
So
I mean,
yes,
we're
we
already
have
paying for like our subscription for our games anyway.
right.
So,
It's $30 a month,
oh yeah.
and we do 5 months at a time. So we have a season
Hmm.
from like we try to keep it with the school year, like any kind of recreational sport,
Hmm.
from August to December, and then from January to May.
That's smart.
2 different seasons.
Hmm.
And spring seasons get really busy because NASEF and a lot of the organizations, there's the Georgia Scholastic Esports Foundation that did a Rocket League competition last year that we got to participate in. Super proud of these kids. So I get nervous when I think about competitions. I'm like, I don't know how to put on a competition, but we could jump in there and like participate in yours.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so the kids came in, there were 12 teams, and they came in sixth place. I'm
Dang.
super proud of them. And
Yes.
a lot of these kids are older than them that they're playing
Oh, that's
against. There's
intimidating
high
too.
school teams. And yeah, we did win actually one of our sessions. I swear I ran outside the house into the streets and was like, "Hey,
Screamed.
whoa!"
Because the victory is real, right?
It is so real.
It
It is so real.
it is very much so a team where you
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
connected, you're part of it. And again, even when you said like $30, right? Like I think about I did not do sports. I don't know if that's obvious, but I did not do sports growing up. But I had friends that did, and I know how much it
Mhm.
costs to like do
Yeah.
football for a season and
Yeah.
buying all the equipment and snacks and
Travel
prep and
soccer,
travels.
competition
Yes.
cheer. It's
I mean, it
expensive.
is. And especially even if you
Mm.
don't do one in the school, like, okay, I'm doing
Mm.
ballet and I've got different competitions that I'm going through here or
Yeah.
gymnastics, right? Like, just like with any sport, there's
Yeah.
investment. Now,
Yeah.
with this, you also probably have to get a lot more parent buy in on this,
Yeah,
especially when you're
absolutely. They're
thinking,
like, "What are
like,
we paying for? You're
yeah,
$30, they can just game without you." I'm like, "Okay,
yes.
we're providing, yeah, what's that return on investment that we're getting?"
Hmm.
So, what I really so yes, I have admin costs, our web we have to pay for a website, my
Yeah.
business cell phone and business insurance and things
Hmm.
like that. But the first year I was like, "Okay, I have all their registration fees sitting here. What am I going to do with it?
Mm-hmm.
I said, let's go to DreamHack Atlanta.
Yeah.
And now we got free tickets because they want kids there.
Yes.
So I, through GGDA, I was able to get them tickets and their parents tickets. I was like, we're going. But
Oh.
when we got there,
Mm-hmm.
I was able to provide these kids with an experience. Like we sat and had lunch, and I was like, get whatever you want. Everybody can get whatever.
Yeah.
Like we walked through the vendors, and I'm like, you guys want something? Like you want to buy something? They all bought these really cool masks that light up and stuff. I was like, done.
Mm-hmm.
Like they got to have a full experience
Mm-hmm.
at this conference because the money just went back into the program
Yes.
and helped pay for them to. And then, so I think one of the two cool things happened at DreamHack Atlanta that year, and this was last year.
Mm-hmm.
We went over to where the BYOC, bring your own computer area was.
Yeah.
And they were watching these kids, older kids, like maybe high school.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think they were college students,
Mm-hmm.
playing Rocket League or Fortnite, doesn't matter. They were in it.
They're over there playing a game.
And they were practicing because they had a competition coming up. And so
Mm.
their coach is sitting there watching them, going kind of back and forth to the different screens. And then he came over and started talking to our kids. And then the players started talking to our kids.
Oh.
And they got to have this really cool experience talking to like real life collegiate esports players.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is a real thing. This is their life. They go to college, they go to school, they get their education, they're going to get a degree,
Right.
and they get to go to things like this and compete
Mm-hmm.
and have these cool experiences. So
Right. Well, then it
I was
takes
really
away
cool.
like this like mystic or vague future
Yeah,
of like,
this
yeah, you can do
reveal the
this, but
mix.
like
Yeah.
go meet them,
Yes, you
talk to
can.
them, see what it's like
Yeah.
where they're actually competing. Look how happy they are. They're here, they're
Yeah.
traveling with their team, right? This
So
isn't, some dark hidden corner, right, that nobody's ever heard of. It's a growing, thriving
yeah.
space, and you have the chance to be a part of it as you keep
Yeah, and
going.
here we are. We are being part of it. Yeah. So the
Yes.
other thing that happened was there was a virtual game, Vertical Shift, I think it was, which is getting kind of big now. Um, they were doing just like a walk up competition,
Yeah.
and so two of the boys, a brothers team,
Mm-hmm.
said we want to do that.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, let's do it. Sign up. Eastside Esports going to compete. Here we go.
Yeah.
So they signed up and they won their first match. Never played this game before, ever. They won their first match.
Wait, what?
I'm guessing some of the other people probably had never played either.
Okay. Hey, we don't
Um,
need to tell that part of the story.
so they won their first match. They're celebrating.
Yeah.
Woo, esports. I'm like live streaming it on our Facebook group
Mm-hmm.
and like just trying to raise some buzz about it. So they get into like the semifinals and they're playing this team and they're talking. I see them communicating with each other and they're having fun and they're trying to figure out strategy around this new game that they're playing.
Mm-hmm.
And they ended up losing. They took off their VR hats and they set them down and they went over and shook hands
Yes.
with the other team and said, good game.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's it.
Yep.
Those are the moments that we're trying to create here. Those are the moments that these kids never have had.
Mm-hmm.
And we were able to have this, like we lost, but we're still going to be good sportsmen about it
Mm-hmm.
because we're on a team and we represent this league and they were wearing t-shirts that had our stuff on it, their gamer tags on the back. Like we're
Yep.
representing our league.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to give it a good space.
Yes.
And they went over, shook hands, good games. And then they came over and kind of, bummed out and like, it's okay. We had everybody there cheering them on. And I was so proud of them.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this is why I did this.
Yes.
For these kids to have these experiences.
Well, you're
awesome.
Seeing such growth in them. And it's not
Yeah.
just that they won. Like, of course, yeah. And you have faith, like they're going to do that plenty of times in the future, right? That's great.
Yeah.
But it's them seeing how they interact in that space.
Mm-hmm.
When they have their
really
successes, when they have their failures, how
Mhm.
are they handling that? And that just like with any other sport, right? This is a chance in which the game itself is a great conduit for careers, skill set development, but also for mental and emotional development as well, and figuring out how do they
Absolutely.
relate with others.
Yes.
Mm,
So putting the term youth development program kind of into our verbiage when we're talking to people about what we're doing,
sure.
they're learning teamwork, they're learning communication skills, they're learning leadership skills because I let them
Mm-hmm.
lead each other through this program. I'll do the educational piece, but they're the ones really controlling
Yeah.
what we're doing, what we're talking about, leading the conversation, leading the gaming, leading each other inside the gaming.
Mm-hmm.
But those leaders bubble up. You can see it happening as they're playing. We have the Rocket League team that was doing the competition. One of those kids just bubbled up as leader and was like, "Okay, this time let's try this. This time let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
This time you gotta come on. I need you to focus."
Yeah,
And
just naturally
just
hopping in
really
there.
leading the team. Yeah, I was like, man, he's a natural. I love it.
Well, that then becomes a space where you get to help foster that. Like, it's not just like, because it's this way, right? You have created an environment where this particular student, this person didn't have the chance to do that elsewhere. And now on top of it, not only do they get to play that game, they get to showcase skills. They get opportunities to lead and develop what it means to be a leader now because of it. This is an added value for
Yes,
them.
yes, yes.
Mm,
So we talked to parents about that too, about what they're getting in return. And I'm like,
yeah.
does it really matter where I'm spending your $30? Like the kids are gonna get a cool experience. I think in the future I'll be able to bring, you know, content creators into the space that maybe we have to pay for them to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I got really lucky and met um oh gosh, I don't want to say his name wrong. The original Fatality. His last name is
Yeah.
Wendell.
Yeah.
This guy's been playing games since the 90s. He has
Yes.
an MTV True Life about him. So we watched that
Wait, is
and
that
how
available
it
online?
is. Yes, it is.
I'd
If
imagine that's
you
a VHS thing.
No, it's online, it's on YouTube. It's an
Yeah.
MTV True Life Fatality.
Yeah.
They were called cyber athletes back then. So it's like a little 13-minute clip. And I had the kids watch it
Yeah.
because I knew that Fatality was going to come in and talk to us because I
Mm,
met him at an event at what Access Replay. What are they called now? AXLR.
yes. Yeah.
I met him at an event there and I told him what I was doing. He was like, "That's amazing. Let's stay in touch." And so I reached out to him and I'm like, "Do you have 30 minutes that you could come into our space and talk to our kids?" And he said, "Absolutely."
Oh.
And so this is our claim to fame right now. This is our biggest like win is
Yes.
having him come into our space. And after watching the video, the kids, with their carrying their monitors around to competitions
Hmm.
back in the 90s, um, coming in and talking about how esports has come, like where they are
Yes.
now, what he's doing now. I mean, they had so many questions for him. It was amazing. I was like, this is the kind of stuff, again, experience that they're going to get through a league like this. I don't even know if you would get something like this in a school. Like we are a recreational league. Like you have
Hmm.
high school basketball and then you have like rec league basketball, right?
Yes.
You have your high school esports team and then you have something like Eastside Esports. We are a recreational league,
Hmm.
not affiliated with the school,
Hmm.
doing things that you're not going to get anywhere else.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, and again, then you're not restricted for only students at this one school, right?
Right,
You get to
right.
have that connection of maybe they're at other schools in the same area, or maybe they're in other states, right? Right.
Yeah,
So we continue to
absolutely.
branch it out.
I get a lot of homeschooled kids that want
Yes.
to participate in the program.
Hmm.
We get some neurodiversity kids that
Hmm.
maybe just don't feel like they fit in other places. We give them the space to be themselves in this program.
Yeah.
I've even had some young LGBTQ plus kids
Hmm.
coming into the space saying, "I feel like I found my family. Everybody called me weird. I didn't belong anywhere." And I'm
Hmm.
like, "Girl, you are not weird.
Hmm.
You
You are
you are
here.
perfect.
This
You
is
are
where you're
here.
supposed to be.
We love you. We embrace you.
Yes.
You're a leader. Let's go."
Hmm.
Yeah, so we've had some really cool kids come through the program, and I get excited when I go to these cons and start talking to kids. I can tell pretty right away if there's some neurodiversity or just
Hmm.
some uniqueness with the kids.
Sure.
And I'm like, this space is for them, absolutely. And the parents are always like, "Thank you. Like you noticed?" I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Thank you."
Hmm.
And I interact with them and just kind of give them the space to be themselves because they're at a con, so they're in their jam, like
Oh,
they're in their
yeah.
space with their people. But now they're talking to somebody that speaks their language with the esports and the video games and giving them an opportunity to kind of take that video game stuff and bring it
Hmm.
into a pathway that they're like, "Oh, I really could do something with this."
Hmm.
It's
Yes.
exciting.
Well, and as you're mentioning exactly, is that you've created a community where they can see themselves belonging, right?
Mhm.
It's not just like you have to stop being that way. You just have to learn to rein it in. You have to not talk about those sort of things. You've
Yeah,
created a
yeah.
space that says you can be who you are. Let's
Yeah.
allow you to express yourself. And when you bring your whole self here, you're going to thrive. You can be the
Yeah.
leader that you can absolutely be. You can be the player. You can be the learner that you want to be in this space that allows them to really recognize who they are. And that's such an integral part, right? I will say. So I teach at the university level. Children terrify me. Um,
They're hilarious.
they have a degree of honesty that is
Yes,
very
they do.
accurate and painful sometimes to hear. Uh, no,
So true.
but they're wonderful, and it's also such a key time for them to learn about themselves. And it's easy to see critiques in a lot of spaces these days where it tries to fit them in a box. Like, we can learn
Mm-hmm.
things this way, and if you don't learn things this way, then you're going to be pushed out into like a special course where it makes it feel like you've been
Yeah.
otherized, right? Or we only talk about these things because that's what some people have determined as being only safe for, or whatever it may be, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it can make it
That's
hard for them.
controversial. We can't even talk about that. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. And it's
Yeah.
terrifying as they are growing up, and they're supposed to push some of those boundaries of like, who
Mm-hmm.
am I? How do I learn? How can I do things
Where do I
differently?
fit in? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's my space. So as a mom of four,
Mhm.
I've also had to learn that flexibility and the compromise with each one of my kids differently.
Right.
My eldest somehow got through all of high school, graduated, amazing, did amazing.
Mhm.
Um, but he got through. Like he had some friends and he had okay grades. And when he was 19 and graduated from high school, I was like, "So what now?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "I don't know." I'm like, "What do you mean you don't know?" And I'm trying to get to know him as a person. I'm like, "Why don't you take some personality tests?" Because he has one of those unique personalities, like really, like 3% of the population.
Yeah. Yes.
And so he's doing these like online personality tests and sending me the results. So I kind of feel out like, how do I
Mhm.
know my kid's turning into an adult? Like, what do I do now?
Yes.
And it's my first one.
Yeah.
So
How does he
I
want to
think
interact with the world and other
right.
people, right?
He doesn't. He doesn't want to interact with the world. That's the problem. So I think some of those personality tests took him down a rabbit hole, and he sent me this thing that said Asperger's, and I was like, "What?" He's like, "I think I might have this." Really? I said, "That's a whole thing. Like, do you want to go to a doctor and see if like this is a thing?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Yeah." So at 19 years old, he's diagnosed with autism. And I'm like, this makes a lot of sense,
Mhm.
actually. Um, I had no clue growing up that he was autistic. Like he's so low on the spectrum, but he's
Yeah.
on the spectrum.
Yes.
And so as an adult now, he's hitting these brick walls. And I'm like, why can't we bust through these walls? I don't
Yeah.
understand. But now we understand. And like he has this piece of paper in front of him after his diagnosis. And I'm like, how do you feel about that? And he's like, I feel like now that I have this tangible thing in my hand, that I will understand it better and other people will understand who I am better.
Mm.
So
Mm.
insightful,
Yeah.
amazing kid.
I
And so,
also want to applaud you for a hot second and saying, like, do you want to explore this? Do you want to have this as a conversation?
do
Because
you want to do this?
so
Because this
many
isn't the whole
people,
diagnosis. Like this is a
yes.
thing.
Yeah. And you might say,
Mhm.
like, oh, well, you just need to try harder. Because, like, we've heard stories of that where people have been shut down and be like, no, you just need to try harder. You're not focusing hard enough. Like, that can't
Yeah,
be it. And it's dismissive instead
yeah.
of exploratory. Maybe it is,
Right.
maybe it
Yeah.
isn't, but we don't have enough information at this point. Let's seek
Yeah.
it out.
So at 24 years
Wow.
old now, we accept him in the space that
Yeah.
he's in and honor who he is.
Mm.
He's a gamer and he has a crazy schedule. And he finds a lot of success in helping other people game.
Mhm.
He does it on his own. He doesn't do it through my league. He has his own space that he does that, and
Needs to do his own journey.
yeah, we just support him and what he does. He loves helping people learn how to play games that
Sure.
he knows how to play. And
Mhm.
he's like coach. I mean, he really is a coach, but
Wow.
he's doing his own thing. But then his sister, who's 23, at 15, decides I don't want to go to school anymore. I want to work in the entertainment industry. I want to be an actress. I want to be a model. I want to do these things. And I'm
Uh-huh.
like, holy cow, okay. Like I'm thinking I'm going to have kids go through the school system, go to college, get jobs, yada
Mhm.
yada. No,
Mhm.
no.
We're
So I've
changing
got
things.
one home. And now I've got a 15-year-old who gets her GED, gets signed by an agent, and starts working in the industry at 15 years old.
Whew. Whew.
Yeah, I
Okay.
know. I'm like, I don't, oh. Um, So, okay, I'm like, I'm going to support this. This is cool.
Yeah.
This is different. This is different, but we can
Yeah.
do this. And
That's
she's 23
insane.
now.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
she stayed in Atlanta, which is great. She
Hmm.
owns 2 businesses. She still works in the industry. She does her thing.
Yes.
She is amazing. College
Hmm.
wasn't her thing. She
Yeah.
dabbled. She was like, no.
Yeah. That's fair. And it isn't for everyone. Or even realizing there's different types or trades or
Yeah,
apprenticeships.
yeah.
You
She's
know what I'm
trying
trying to
all
say.
kinds of things and finding what she loves and following her creative
Yeah.
self, and it's amazing. And now I have 2 younger kids, and my 10-year-old is severe ADHD and Tourette's. So he has tics and stuff that he does.
Mm-hmm.
And this time last year, he started asking if he could be homeschooled. And I'm like, oh, I've never done that before. Um, so we're in a new school system now. We're trying,
Yeah.
a new teacher. We just moved from Atlanta to Michigan.
Yeah.
And so I made him do 6 months in the school. I was like, just try it. Like, I don't know how to
Yeah.
homeschool you. So come January, I was like, let's do it. Let's give it a try.
Yeah.
A lot of his esports friends are homeschooled. I was getting a lot of people put in front of me that were giving me positive reinforcement that you
Mm-hmm.
could try this, like you could do it and it would
Yeah.
be okay. So I was getting a lot of positive reinforcement from people that I was talking to.
Mm-hmm.
And so from January to May, he was homeschooled, and he is a whole different kid. He is so happy.
Yeah.
He is more positive instead of that pessimistic, like downer. He's doing amazing. And
Mm-hmm.
so we're gonna keep homeschooling him. And then I have an 8-year-old who is like me reincarnate. She is a rule follower. She loves structure
Yes.
and schedules.
Paperwork
And
is fun.
yes. And
Gosh bless this.
and
We
she
need
loves this.
individuals like that who are
Yeah.
champions.
Absolutely. She loves the social aspect of school.
Yes.
She's
Oh.
figured out that social dynamic. She knows where she fits in. She knows
Mm-hmm.
her role,
Mm-hmm.
and she loves school. So I gave her the opportunity. I'm like, your brother's going to homeschool. Do you want to do it too? And she's like, no, I miss my friends too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I like
Fair.
this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing well. I'm learning how to read. I know how to do math. Like, I'm doing good.
Yeah.
So she's in school.
Mm-hmm.
So I have like, you name it, my kids have done it and we've tried it, or, and maybe we're successful, maybe we weren't, but we at least gave it a try.
Mm-hmm.
And, just allowing my children to be human beings and develop their personalities and their self-worth and self knowing who they are
Mm-hmm.
their own way. They have to have their own path.
Right.
And just giving them the space to kind of create that and supporting them and loving. That's my motto. Love them through it.
Mm-hmm.
Loving them through it. Knowing no matter what they do, they are loved
Mm-hmm.
and accepted. So
I
that's where
think
I am with all these kids now.
well, and that's powerful, and certainly that bleeds into your Eastside Esports League now as well, because it's something where a lot of kids are looking for that belonging, and there's a lot of parents out there as well in that same boat of thinking, I know my child deserves a tailored experience. I don't want to force them into this box, into the same pathway that everybody else says that you have to take
Mhm.
because it's not right for them. And so
Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
for alternatives. You
And the,
did that for each of your children.
and the world is so different now than it was when we were
Yes.
kids. It's
Yes.
so different now.
Oh,
So
it's
these
stressful to think of
boxes
it.
of like, I'm kind of grateful so far that none of my kids have done marching band, because I did marching band and it's tough. It's a
Bright
great
early
experience.
mornings, traveling all the time,
It is a
parades all
lot.
day.
I'm like, I don't want to be a marching band mom. That's a lot. I hate football.
Of all things, please don't let them love marching
Don't do what I
band.
did. So I've gotten lucky so far, so good. No marching band. Maybe Honey Dust will probably be, the one, but it's okay. She does pageants and dance, so
Uh-huh.
we have a lot of stuff now. Yeah, they all have different pathways. They all have their own little rainbows they're walking
Yes.
on, and
Yes.
love that little visual for them. But
Hmm.
yeah, they're doing amazing, and I'm super proud of all of them.
Yeah.
And to see what they do with the world, and they're proud of me too. They tell
Hmm.
me. My eldest calls me up, and she's talking. She'll probably call me after this interview and be like, "Oh my gosh, mom, you're so cool!"
Is
Like,
she the one in chat right now?
oh, is she? I
I
don't
think
see
I
the
did
chat.
see something that says, I love you, mom.
Oh, that's probably her.
We love that. But that is a great sign of a positive relationship, right? And support, especially as again, right? Like I'm tying this also to your esports league, right? You're getting
Yeah,
at them in
yes.
these young levels and they're learning again, how do they understand themselves? how do they create relationships with others? How do they want to start defining their place in the world and seeing all of these various options, getting to
Yeah.
talk to people in different places, going to locations and experiencing that? You're opening doors. And then that helps when they get older, when they get into high school, right? And they want to get plugged
Yeah.
into other organizations, or they go to college and maybe they don't go to college, right? Maybe they go to this program or they go into that route or whatever it looks like, right? That they now have this foundation of, at least they've had a chance to start pushing those boundaries a little bit more and figuring out, yes, this is where I feel comfortable, or no, that's not how I want to have people talk to me, or yes, this is the type of work I want to enjoy doing. And that grows with them. That helps
Yeah.
them then
Yeah.
wherever they go to build relationships with people that are positive and healthy, and that can continue to grow with people that they've had long-term relationships with. It helps them
Yes.
find jobs, right, that are
Yeah.
going to be the right matches that interest them, right? And to be able to advocate for themselves because they've had a pattern in which they've got to be themselves.
Yeah. So this is a great lead in for after the break too,
Mm-hmm.
about what we're doing this season.
Mm-hmm.
Our theme is the mindful gamer. And
Mm.
so there's a book that PK Graff wrote that we're using kind of as our model.
Okay.
And we could talk more about that after the break. But
Yes.
before we go to break, I
Yes.
do want to have my super announcement. So this is the first time I've said it publicly. I've been talking about it like with
Okay.
my network.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, getting chills. Oh, this is exciting. So we started our program in Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
Eastside eSports League on the east side of Atlanta in Rockdale County.
Yes.
Um, I live in Michigan now. We now have kids in Michigan as well.
Mm-hmm.
I sat back and said, holy cow, we are not Eastside eSports anymore. We're a national organization.
Yeah.
We have kids. We can have kids from anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to PAX East in Boston. I'm hoping we can get out to San Diego Con,
Cool.
South by Southwest. Like,
Yes.
I need people to know that this exists. And as far as I know, I'm the only one doing this the way we're doing it, this virtual program.
Mm-hmm.
So we are going to be changing our name
What? Oh,
from Eastside Esports to something else. I think I know what it's going to be, but I would love this community to give us some ideas of what we
okay.
should be. So,
That's fair. That's fair. We're going to let that percolate a little bit
yes,
because that's
take
a
a break.
huge announcement. Congratulations, first of all, right?
Thank
Because
you.
that's like a huge stage to be like work and different paperwork, right? When you're just working on this.
Yeah, I have a meeting with a lawyer in 2 weeks because I don't know what I'm doing.
The fun stuff. But it is like it's a sign that says, we're growing. We have a vision that is bigger than state lines. We
Yes.
need the space to do. We have the resources that we can do this. We have the audience and families and students who are prepared for this. That is a sign of accomplishment. That is
Thank
amazing.
you. Thank
Ah!
you.
Dude, choosing a
Yeah,
name
so
is hard though.
yes, it is. It's super hard. So we are going to keep our LLC, but we're also going to have a nonprofit branch. So we're going to
Mhm.
offer scholarships for more accessibility for people who can't afford the $30 a month. We
Yes.
understand.
Yes.
We're, like I said earlier, we're working with a sponsor um, that's really going to help us get to this next level.
Mhm.
It's very, very exciting. I can't wait till we can go public with them. Um, and yeah, so that's kind of where we are right at
Oh
break.
my
It's big
goodness.
news, so we'll talk more.
Yes. Yes. That is huge. Everyone start thinking about the names. Yeah. Load that system in. You've got 5 minutes to let it sit.
Yeah,
But that's
loads
a
of
big deal. I know we can flex on time, right? But
okay.
I want to congratulate you because
Thank you.
that is big. I don't want to be like, I don't want anyone to see this as like, we're growing. This seems like the next natural step. Growing a business across state lines and being ambitious and excited enough to continue to want to push your vision beyond that is amazing, and I applaud you because you
Thank
could, right? You could be content with the pacing that you've set. Like you could just say like we're just going to keep it with my connections that I have in
you.
Atlanta and in Michigan, and you could grow at a happy pace. You could get a growth that is like, yeah, more students are
A little bit
involved,
here, a
but
little bit there. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, right. Like, and most people are like, yeah, that works. It's good.
No, I've got plans, and
Yeah.
I have this ambition. And every time
Yes.
I talk about esports, I don't know if you've noticed in the last hour, I get really excited and like I could talk about it literally for hours. So
Yes. Yes. Well, I
there's
want us to
something
see
to that.
that.
This is my passion project.
Yes.
I really, really enjoy doing this. It doesn't pay the bills. I have a full-time job. My husband works, but
Hmm.
we take the time to do things like this, to go to local events where kids are playing Pokemon card games and just be in the space that they're in and say, hey, we're doing something cool with this too. Um, let's talk about it. So
Yes. Here, 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 here. No, that's important. I want us to bring all of our passion and excitement to keep you going in that momentum because
thank you.
that is amazing. All
The
right.
game has been a huge support, of Eastside Esports since the inception. So really appreciate that.
Yes. Yes. Good. Good.
Yeah,
Well, we're never alone in this. That's what we have to realize. I
it's true. That's
just,
true.
but you've been spearheading this and I love what you've been doing. Perfect.
Thank you.
All right. As we mentioned earlier, right, with our mental health, we're going to take 5 minutes. We're going to
Yes.
stretch. We're going to drink some water. All of that stuff. And we're going to think of some names. So we'll be back in 5 minutes. Don't go anywhere, friends. We'll see you all soon. Okay, friends, we're back. I hope you didn't go anywhere too far, but took a moment to relax, to stretch. All right, get that drink of water. We know as gamers, we can find ourselves sitting at our seat hours on end, but we deserve a little time. Our body deserves a little bit of movement as we get into it. So we're back here, second part of our Pink Pixels. And we're talking about, of course, now that we are renaming, right, which is a huge deal, of our Eastside eSports. What is
Not
this
anymore. We're gonna be
vision?
something else
I
now.
know. We're like gone. There it was. Part of history. You are going to have to take one of those jerseys and like put it in one of those glass display cases. Like, here were the origins where we first started, now into our new phase. That
Yes.
eel too. Like the eel looks
We're
so
keeping the
cool.
eel.
Yeah.
We're keeping the eel. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
So I like this, like somebody saying, like, try to
Yeah.
keep up with the ease and all of that. So yes,
Yeah.
let's do that.
I see script like I'm trying to come up with it, but yeah, coming up with words with ease is hard.
Yeah, and like gaming vocab and
Yes.
acronyms.
Yes.
Love it. Yeah.
And I'll give kudos to Scrib. Scrib has a very sharp mind. Some of you also are really good with puns and you're clever. Play up on your skill set. Throw
Yeah.
anything and
Yeah.
everything. We may not like it, but at least we'll get a kick out of it.
Yeah. Give us a laugh.
Ooh, play
How
Power Up League for Advancing Youth.
advancing youth. Ooh. So
Mm.
I think power up and level up. I know level up is already being used. So that's the other thing. Like I
Oh,
have to make sure this isn't being used anywhere else and all that stuff. Yeah, there's a lot to it, but I love
yes.
the ideas.
That's a great idea to do off the acronym as well, like keeping it simple. How do we talk about it? We love those sort of things. Low hanging fruit is everywhere, esport penguin.
Regular
You
esports.
know what? You got to throw it out there because you never know. Once you hear it out, it can also spark other people to come up with ideas as well. That's how
Yeah, I
brainstorming
love
works.
this
Yes.
brainstorming. I love this.
Yes.
And yeah, when I was talking to you right before the show started, I was like, "Ooh, there's an idea. Let's
Yes.
let
Hmm.
the network
Hmm.
see what they think."
Yes. You don't have to make any decisions tonight, of course, and you shouldn't, but
Yeah,
we will engage in the brainstorming space and throw out anything and every idea that comes to us. And you can just be like, that's interesting. And we'll write it down and you can
yeah. Taking notes. Absolutely.
taking notes, right? Like play everywhere esport. Where do we go with this? And that's the next challenge, right? And all of this is what do we do to find a name that matches the vision of where we're going? And so
Right.
you've started where we left off in creating this vision of where eel is going to go, where it's going to evolve into
Mhm.
its next form, okay? Right? So
Yeah.
we are no
Oh yeah.
longer our starter Pokemon. We're entering our next stage, right? We get a
Absolutely.
new
I love it.
name, we get a new look around
Yeah.
this. What
Yes.
is this vision? Paint for us before I even start thinking of a name. Paint
Yeah.
for us, what do you see this next stage for your organization to be?
Yeah. So that is a great idea. So um we're going to have, I mean, I just envision that we're going to have kids from all over the United States, which means
Mm-hmm.
we're going to have to break up into time zones, probably
Ooh,
like
yeah.
districts, like Hunger Games, maybe. Um,
Yes.
and, and then, and then at that point, we're a big enough team where we can start competing internally.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Ooh, that would be great.
yeah, for practice, and then
Yes.
we have multiple teams that can go to competitions, mostly online competitions. I'm really
Mm-hmm.
grateful for um, volunteers tribute. Um, I'm really, really grateful for all of the people that have been helping so far with this and participating. A lot of the parents step up into roles, providing documentation how to. So the kids wanted to play Knockout City, and it went. It made some changes during the last summer, and
Mm-hmm.
the parent went and made like a Google Doc to show the kids how to get into a private server together so they could still play. I was like, wow, what a resource. That's amazing.
Yes.
Yes. When Eastside Esports was going to Johnson Park in Rockdale County, when they finally got the internet going, we did one season in person, and I was living in Michigan at that time, and one of the parents said, "We'll show up, we'll be there," and I was like, "Wow." Um, we really think that this virtual model is working a lot better than in-person models. just because I don't know why actually. It just is working. It's you know, when we had the space for people to show up in person, we had more kids show up online than in person. And I was like, well, this is where they want to be. This is where they already are.
Mm-hmm.
Let's meet them in their space. And so I think the biggest thing that I really want to see is increased engagement with these kids. This is a big metric, I think, that I started looking at when I was a NASF fellow. And the schools are putting out these metrics that, kids that were never participating in any other kind of extracurricular are now participating because they have esports. These kids that maybe weren't even showing up to school sometimes are coming to school because they have esports now. And so I want to see what these engagement metrics are going to look like for this recreational space for these kids. They weren't participating in their community, and now they are. They had no idea that these things existed, and now they do. I wish we could pull up if we had planned a little better. Maybe if I had planned a little better, we could pull up, NASEF's infographic with all of the different ecosystem in it. I use that all the time. I take it with me. It's framed. I
You're like,
take
okay, here, ta-da.
I take it to conventions
Yeah.
and put it on our table, and I'm like, this is what we do. This is what we're about, because it just encompasses everything that we want to touch with these kids. So and it's cool too. My husband mentioned that even though the kids are matriculating in and out of the program, they're still connected. They're
Mm.
still playing games together, even though a kid maybe doesn't have the time or the space for esports for whatever reason in a particular season in their life. They're still connected to each other. And I think it's so much better to have a space where these kids can play games, this safe space where they're playing games with each other, but they know each other.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's virtually, like they know each other and the parents know each other. They all know me, so there's a connection there. I'm providing this moderated space for them where, they're. Oh, I also wanted to talk about the controlling of the tilt. A lot of them didn't even know what that meant. I'm like,
No.
gamer range? And they're,
Mm-hmm.
ooh, yeah.
Like, yeah. Yes, yes.
I'm
They
not
they
gamer
know
range.
the effects of it. The label
Yeah.
of it was different. Yeah. Gamer tilt.
So providing them this safe space. And so what I was saying right before break is we've taken PK Graff's book, The Mindful Gamer,
Mm-hmm.
and it's 5 lessons every gamer should know.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to use that this season to kind of move through our educational portion of our program and talk about each piece. It's, making sure that you're staying in that positive zone, making sure that your personal mental state is good. And these are big topics for kids.
Right.
But breaking it down into what are you doing before you start gaming? And then what do you do after gaming to recharge?
Mm.
And, you know, if there is toxic behavior in the gaming space, which there is, we know,
Yeah. Let's not
how are
sugarcoat it.
you, how are you behaving in that space? Are you creating boundaries for yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we're talking about a lot of kind of deep things with these kids that they would never talk about with each other, and just giving them that space to, oh man, bruh, this guy, he was yelling and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, then how did that make you feel? Like, what did that do to your gaming? Did you want to keep gaming with that person?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then them internalizing that and saying, oh, I don't want to be that person that people don't want to play games with.
Mm-hmm.
So, so yeah, this mindful gaming is what we're going through this season. Yeah.
You all are advancing so much as you move to this next stage. Like I'm just trying to like recap all of it. Like, yes,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love like you're advancing the curriculum of it. You want them to see themselves as more holistic gamers. And also, I mean, especially hearing in that last part, I think it's so important because it's applicable to everything that we do, but you're asking them to be reflective.
Yes.
It's not just that, going into it, we're going to do this, we're going to do that while we're there, but also afterwards, when we take those breathing moments, how did I behave? How did I react to people? Right? How do I want to be in this space?
Yeah.
What were the emotions that I felt in those
And I am
moments?
seeing that. One of the kids, he I mean, I don't know if I would label him a toxic gamer, but he was one of those that was kind of pessimistic
Yeah.
and like, why did you do that? Or I don't want to do that. And he came to me at the end of the season. At the end of the season last year, I tried to have a one-on-one with each of the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you get out of it? What did you like? What did you not like? What do you want to see next year?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this kid said, I really think I've grown. And I was like, ooh, tell
Okay.
me more.
Yeah. Let's hear it.
Yeah, and he's like, I used to come to this space and be all like, I'm the best gamer and you're not gonna beat me, and you know, I don't like what you're doing and all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And he goes, and now I really feel like I'm more inclusive with the other players. I invite them to come and play with us. If we're doing something different than the other kids are doing. I just I was like, that's so insightful for him to say that. I saw it. I knew that.
Yes.
Um, but that he brought it up and that
Mhm.
he saw that in himself, I was just very impressed with him. And I was
Yes.
like, I definitely agree with you that you have grown as a person and you have found this new level of gaming inside yourself and that you're sharing it with the gaming world.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations. Hoorah. Kudos.
Well, and that's sometimes hard to face too, because when you look at it, you're like, oh, I'm glad I made changes, but who I was before was not the kind of person I wanted to be. That's hard. That's hard to face. Like, I've been there before. I'm like, I'm embarrassed. I would like to pretend it never happened and I will acknowledge it to nobody, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So his ability at that age to own it and say, I've
Yeah.
made growth, that is a story. That is impressive.
That's
And
really proud.
I think in your particular case, this feels very easy to showcase, right? Like, there's so much communication we do via text or via typing, right? We got
Mhm.
text messages, we've got TikTok or
Sure.
whatever
Yeah.
messages we type and we send stuff back and forth, but even via Discord. And if you set this up, like, you can have them reflect and say, like, look at these past few months, all of the messages that you've sent out. What are the tones behind them?
Mhm.
What kind of actions are you known for? Like, you're starting to create a repeated pattern. Like, are you the person that only makes jokes of everything? Are you the person that encourages people? Like, when you look at how you've been participating, that those behaviors, that actual way in which you've been talking to people, that is most reflective of who you are. It's not who you think, like, I'm a nice person. But when I look at your messages, you haven't said a nice thing to anyone, right? Like, that's such a telling thing. And then you've got like the recordings, like in games, like, how are you talking to people, right?
Mhm.
This is all in which they have this huge chance to say, how am I building relationships? How am I impacting this space? That's
Yeah,
hard.
it's been really cool too. And it's like, yeah, I've been a gamer my whole life,
Mm-hmm.
but I've not ever been a professional gamer.
Mm-hmm.
I've not, you know, run an esports league competitively, and they're like, oh, they call me coach,
Uh-huh.
but I'm not a coach. Like, I'm not teaching you the techniques of how to play the game. They already know how to play the games. You know, they already
Yeah.
know how to play these
Yeah.
games. I'm not doing that. As a coach in this space, I'm moderating. I say a lot of times I have to tell them to watch their language,
Mm-hmm.
watch your words, watch your adjectives.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the stupid ball. It's just the ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So watch. They hear that all the time. Watch your adjectives, um, and then kind of making them understand that where they're at now. They're like, rah, 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 rah. And I'm like, okay, let's calm down, take a breath, take a beat,
Yes.
step back, like maybe let's pause the game for a second.
Yeah.
Or if they're at the end of the game and they're like, why did you do that? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, maybe we need to switch gears. Let's go from 3v3 to 2v2.
Mm-hmm.
Let's pull somebody else in and do a different match. And just kind of mix things up. So I'm just kind of moderating the gameplay and kind of watching them
Mm-hmm.
ebb and flow. And I'm really helping them pin in on that tilt,
Yeah.
that gamer rage. Like, um, let's keep this very, kosher
Mm-hmm.
sportsman, like
Let's
these
check
good
ourselves.
sportsmen. Yeah, check
Yeah.
yourself.
Honestly, I
Absolutely.
feel like you are lessening the role that you play as coach, because you are. Like, in my brain, when I hear what you're saying, I'm like, you are a Ted
That is
Lasso.
coach. Yeah,
right?
like I'm not
Yeah.
teaching like football
Yeah.
techniques and plays and things like that,
Yes.
but I'm coaching them in the aspect of
Mm-hmm.
this is a team, this is a team sport. Esports is a
Yes.
team sport. Even if you're a solo pro gamer,
Mm-hmm.
you have a team of people around you. You're not going to a competition by yourself. You have people around you, even if it's just your hype man, like that
Yes.
are
Yes.
they're helping you in this situation. And so them seeing that you're not alone in this space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just big things happening. It's going to be a really
Right.
amazing watching it grow.
Well, and to put it succinctly, right, there's so much more to being a good player than just being a good gamer.
Player, yeah, period,
You
yeah.
can be a great gamer. That doesn't mean you're a good player. Doesn't mean anybody wants you on their team. Doesn't mean anybody wants to play with you, right? There's so much more, and you're guiding them to say, yeah, you may be great at the game. Here's how you take that skill and you make it thrive within a place where others can connect to you.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
hard. That's the big
yeah,
disconnect, right? And that's
absolutely.
where it changes from like, yeah, they're sitting at home and they're playing by themselves. They can become a great gamer there, but they don't get the guidance on how to become a great player.
Right.
That's the
Um,
challenge, and that's what you get to bring to the table. And I think that's so exciting. I also I love that not only are you thinking about, yes, like addressing this new generation, right? Like of less toxic gamers. I see you
yeah, I love
describe,
that.
right? We're
Yeah.
changing things up. Here's how we behave. We're being more thoughtful. We're being more reflective in this process. But as you're growing, you're also creating space, right? You have all of these, you've got 30 that have come through in this program. You've had, in addition to the actual athletes, the participants, the students, you've also had parents, right? There are
Mm-hmm.
parents who are seeing your passion, seeing the impact that they had on their children's lives. They're like, maybe I could come up with a Word document that says, hey, here's how you might be able to set up this particular server so you can play. Hey, maybe I might be able to help organize at least the tournament bracket for our internal game. You
Yeah.
are you are creating a much larger infrastructure in which it's not just like the students, but it allows for community
Mm-hmm.
involvement and
That's
immersion.
that's where yeah, that's where I want to step back when you talk about where do I see it in the future. And
Yeah.
I want to step back and look at where we've come the last 2, 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
the impact that we're making and how broad that is. Um, One
Yes.
of the first, when I was very first starting out, I went to PAX East in Boston with some friends of mine and my eldest son. And I was like, I'm going to bring these flyers and these Pokemon cards. I'm just going to pass them out to people. I'm
Yeah.
like, if I see a kid, I'm going to hand him a Pokemon card and I'm going to hand the parent a flyer. And we went back the next year and I was doing it again.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody was like, oh, I remember you. You were passing out these Pokemon cards last year. And I'm like, bro,
They know.
impact. I made an impact.
Yes.
Like, so I want to continue to do that and see how that's going to start affecting. I plugged into some of the con scene here in West Michigan. We're
Mm-hmm.
still plugged into the con scene in Atlanta. Um, and like, where else can we go? Where,
Yeah.
I mean, this could benefit any kid anywhere. And I'm like, that's so big. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, how do you eat an elephant, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Where do we begin on this? But you are. You're taking steps in towards this direction. And I'm excited to hear when you tell stories like parents wanting to pick up those flyers, parents wanting to,
Mhm.
because as this grows, you're amazing, but you will not be able to do everything eventually.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
the vision you're
I
painting, I'm
haven't
like,
been able to do everything. So let me definitely give kudos to the team here.
yes,
My
yes.
husband's super supportive, Daniel Salanti, Coach
Hmm.
Salanti.
Hmm.
He helps out with some of the younger kids.
Yeah.
I kind of have him in like head coach of like the junior league.
Hmm.
And then one of my best friends, Caroline, she goes by Lady Kiba,
Hmm.
helping with the older kids. They wanted to play Apex. She's amazing on Apex, so she's guiding them through that.
Hmm.
And then a very, very good friend of mine who I met through playing Pokemon Go. His name is Michael, your Huckleberry, is his gamer tag. And he's been helping me with operations, like brainstorming name changes
Hmm.
and helping update the Discord every season to make sure that
Yes.
it's clean and ready to go and all of their chat mess isn't in there with new people and helping with the website and things like that. So I do have a small team of people around me that have been amazing and just everybody that's been supportive of
Mm.
what I'm doing. They know that I have 4 kids and that I work full time. Like my
Yeah.
mom, oh, she's a super support system. and all my kids have been super supportive too, just family and friends. Our first ever sponsors, my best friend's business. She kind of gave us some seed money as a
Yeah.
sponsorship, and she's like, "What do you need?" And I'm like, "I got to get the website up and running." And she's like, "Well, what is that?" And so I was like, "Would your business want to support?" Like I made the ask,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and we got our first sponsor. So
Mhm.
it's yeah, it's been a community of people that have been
Mhm.
there for us, helping us, cheering us on,
Yeah.
rooting for us, and just stepping in and helping when and where they can. And the parents have been a big part of that too. It's been really
Mhm.
amazing. They don't just throw their kid on the
See you
computer.
later.
Here, see you in 2 hours.
Yeah.
No, they're part of it too, and they want to participate when we have a speaker. We've had the head coach of the University of Minnesota come on and speak. We've had Fatality come on and speak.
Yeah.
We had PK come in and talk about his book and kind of walk us through it, and um, having those people join into the program. Oh, we're gonna have. I know you said hi to Felly Bish
Yes.
earlier. I got to meet her in person, and we're gonna have her come on and talk to the kids about content creation and diversity in the space and things like
Mhm.
that. So yeah, it's just been really amazing, and it was really cool from inception in Atlanta. I was really concerned. I wasn't sure where we would fit in the space,
Yeah.
and everyone was so inclusive, and
Mhm.
they said, "This is cool what you're doing. Let's bring you in. Let's lift you up. Let's put you on panels so people can see you and hear about what you're doing." I got to meet Tiger Lily, who's
That's
friends with
really
Robot
awesome.
Giggles, who I kind of fangirled over. Um, yeah, so just it was there's space for everybody.
Yeah.
There's room for everybody to do things right now. And I've gotten to talk to some people. There's a guy in North Atlanta somewhere creating an esports space, like a brick and mortar. It's called
Mhm.
Alpha Esports and Technology. And he and I have been talking, and he's like, "It's like I'm talking to myself." You know,
Like, are you?
it's
It's like the Spider-Man
so
meme where you're pointing
brilliant.
at each other. Yeah.
You doing that? You doing
Yeah.
that too?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So just finding people with such like mind
Yeah.
and just being able to just totally geek out with them and talk
Mhm.
about what we're doing and just getting that support. Everybody's been so positive
Mhm.
and so inclusive and uplifting,
Yeah.
and just reaching out to the con scene here in West Michigan.
Mhm.
I got pulled onto staff for Capital City Comic Con
Dang.
because they wanted to grow their esports space, and I got the Michigan State University esports program that's brand new this year to
Mhm.
show up and say, "Hey, we're here." They
Mhm.
had one of their brand new players come in and
Aw.
offer an opportunity for kids to, or anybody really, to compete against him in Smash Brothers. He went 42-0 over the
Bull.
weekend. Nobody beat him.
That is amazing.
I was
That's a great
like,
headline on its own, but
yeah,
I'm sure like just the crowds of audience kept waiting like is it going to be
right.
this
And we
one?
kept
Is it going to
waiting.
be this
They
one?
were doing competitions, and I was like, "Do you guys know that they're doing a Fortnite competition?" And
Wow.
I stayed and supported those competitions.
Yeah.
And this kid won the Fortnite competition.
Mhm.
Um, he was probably 11 years old, and we had this amazing vendor giving vintage gaming systems as the prizes. So like
What?
an original NES, an original Atari as the prizes. And it was
I
just
would have played so hard. Fortnite gives me such anxiety, but I would have played so hard for that console.
right. So I mean, just watching this, I'm like, you guys need to be in the esports league. Like you're in.
Yes.
Like just show up.
Yeah. Just that's it, right? Like
Yeah,
that's what
just show
your
up.
organization and others are there
Or,
for. Like you just have to show up. We are building it for you.
yeah.
Come.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Just show up. It's here. It exists.
Mhm.
So that was super fun. And then Kogan Con was a teeny tiny in Grand Haven.
Mhm.
But they're all busting out of their seams.
Yes.
They're all these cons are growing, and it's because esports is getting bigger. So their esports space is getting bigger. They have
Mhm.
the vendors, they have the comic book people, they have the artists that are coming that are for the fan base and things like that, and
Yeah.
they have esports stuff, and they still have the tabletop and the card games and all that too, and it's but they're allowing the space for esports to exist in their world also.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, I'm here for that. Let's do it. What can we do to make that
Yes.
grow? And they're getting sponsors like Xfinity to come in and be like, we want to help sponsor this. Yeah, it's been really cool watching it grow. So I'm just trying to find places to plug myself in and be like, we're here for
Yes.
this. Like, where can we help? Can we exist in your space with you? I need like this much room on a table, and just
You'll
my
share a table.
personality,
It doesn't
just
matter.
my
Like
personality to
I
like,
brought my Pokemon cards and my
I'll have a
flyers.
sign that
Just
says
yeah.
free Pokemon
Yeah.
cards. They will show up, and word will get around that we're here with free Pokemon cards,
Yes.
and people will
Yes.
send them to us.
But that's what you're at that stage now, like as you're growing, you've got the infrastructure, you've got the dream, you know how to move forward with it. The next goal is just to make noise. Let
Yes,
people know that you're there. Let other people know, like, hey, I'm gonna come here, I'm gonna go into this Twitch channel, I'm gonna drop by this panel, I'm gonna go to this con. Like, we're here. We are ready for you. Please come. Right? Like
yes,
as you mentioned to that 11-year-old, like, we've got an organization for you, right?
yes. Just show up.
Yes.
Yeah, and having you guys come to me and say, "Hey, we want to interview you." I was like, "What?"
Yes.
But this is the perfect space. Like this is where I need to be.
Mhm.
Get it out there. Get my vision, which parents are like, "Holy cow, that's amazing."
Yes.
Out there and say, "We're doing it. We exist.
Mhm.
The model works. We're here. We just need your kid to come show up."
Yeah.
Um, and be a part of it if you want to. We would really love to have you. So
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
And if cost is a thing, like we're working on that. Like I've already scholarshiped in plenty of kids. I'm like,
Yeah.
if cost is really a thing, just let me know.
Mhm.
We're a small organization. Those that are paying, we really appreciate it. It helps us be able to keep going.
Mhm.
Those that can't, we still want kids to participate. So come on.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, right? Like that's don't cross something out because of the price. In this, it's like let's have a conversation. Let's figure out what we can do, what
Absolutely.
works, what doesn't work. Maybe we'll try to find you a sponsor. Maybe we find some scholarship set up that we've got, right? You
Yeah.
find
Yeah.
working ways.
I
When
don't.
there are barriers, it's not a permanent wall. It's
Yes,
an opportunity
absolutely.
for you to work over together. And I love that, especially because it really speaks to your values of saying, how do we provide the best for the student? How do we provide the
Yeah.
best? And
It's
I keep
about the
saying
kids.
student, but like they're all over the place, right? Like
Yeah.
anybody and everyone,
Kids
like
anyway.
they're
Yeah.
gamers probably is better. I don't like to
It,
refer to them as kids. No kid. I remember being a kid. I don't like being referred to as a kid.
oh, the gamers, yes. And we talk when we're in league play, we call each other our gamer tags.
Yes,
And the kids are kind of figuring that out now, and they're like their gamer tag was zombie cats because that's what they
that's
created
amazing though.
as
That's
when
a
they were,
great name.
you know, and now maybe and so they get called zombie, and because that's you're gonna get your name
Yes.
shortened to like Scrib over there.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying Commodore Scrib during the shoutcasting. So
Exactly.
yeah, my younger son's gamer tag was bolted osmosis. It's just bolted now.
Yes.
That's what people call him.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they're kind of figuring out their gamer identity too, which is very
Yes.
exciting.
I am grateful that I had the time to change my name, my gamer tag before I started streaming and everything. I mean, it wasn't bad.
Right?
It was like very sleepy owl, but it's not catchy. It's hard to call out. And even owl, owl. Hey owl. No, it's not as much fun to say versus caustic, right? It's
Yeah,
different sounds, right? Like come
got it, yeah.
on.
So I have a cool story about how I got my gamer tag too.
Yes, let's hear it.
Um, I am gamer mom,
Yes. With an E for
and
the or three
the
with the
three for
E.
the E in
Mm-hmm.
gamer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so my eldest son was 18 and he's like, "Hey mom, can I go to this guy's house? They're doing it was Brawlhalla at the time."
Oh yeah.
Um, I was like, "Where does he live?" And it was like Lake Lanier. I was like an hour and a half away. I was like, "Okay, you're 18, but like that sounds sketchy."
Yes.
um,
Yeah.
so I
Fair.
drive him up, like I want to be supportive. So I
Yes.
drive him up there and I park outside this house and I'm like, doesn't look like anybody's there. And I see this other car kind of pull up and this kid, teen, I guess, gets out and
Yeah.
he's got his bag with his keyboard sticking out. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, this might be legit. Like he's bringing his own keyboard.
Yes.
Because my son brought his own keyboard and
Yeah.
controllers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, but I know you're 18. I get that, but I'm going to the door with you. So
Yes.
we go up and knock on the door, and this person opens the door that doesn't live there, and he sees my son, and he says, "What's your name?" And at the time, I think his gamer tag was Energy,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, "Your Energy?" And he like broed him out, like
Yeah.
handshake, bro hug, like he was like, and this is my autistic son. I'm like,
Yeah.
who
I
is
did
this
not
person
expect
that
this interaction.
knows my kid like that? Like that's how I talk to my friends.
Yeah.
So we go in and I'm like, who lives here? The living room is literally set up like a LAN party. There's a there's a screen and a projector and like all these gaming
That
setups
sounds
and
amazing.
like the competition, like it's all set up.
Hmm.
So we make our way through the small house and like out in the garage or playing ping pong or something. This guy comes up to me and I'm like, hi, this is my son,
Yeah.
Energy. I'm his mom, and I know this might be kind of weird, but like we've never done anything like this
Yeah.
before. Like, just I didn't want it to be sketchy. He's got a sign on the fridge. It's like, if you're under 21, don't drink. And he's got pizzas and Swiss cakes
Hmm.
and fruit snacks. And I'm like, this is
This is
such
a
a game
dream.
world right now. Like, yes, we are. This is I'm home.
Yeah.
Um, so I meet this guy, super cool character of a guy.
Hmm.
Turns out it's Foda Khan from Valhalla.
So this is legit, legit. All right. Like,
Totally legit.
okay.
He'd flown his friend in from Illinois to shoutcast. And I was like, well, we're an hour and a half away. I don't want to leave. I kind of want to see what's going on. I'll try to
Yeah.
stay, in the corner. They put headphones on me
So you can hop in and get. That
to
is
shout.
amazing. Wait, you
To,
shoutcasted along?
I don't know the names of the characters, the weapons. I'm like, ooh, who's that little dude with the little what? The
I
people
love that.
watching this shoutcast are having a blast. I'm like, who is this lady? La la la. Photo goes, this is Gamer Mom.
And that's you.
I'm Gamer Mom.
Yep.
That's who I am. So
So the
that's
name
my
was gifted to you.
from Foda from Valhalla.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's my
Wow. That is insane. And of all things, like you happen upon this moment, you're pulled into it, and you just,
I just kind of went with it. I was like, this is
yes.
my world. I know gaming. I guess it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact, I mean, like, and that's how I play too. Like, I don't learn the names of the characters and all their
Yeah.
moves and stuff. And I was like,
This
and,
makes
and they loved it. I was like, all right, this is a thing. I'm going to be Gamer Mom. Here we
yeah.
go.
Yes, yes. But that's the difference, right? Especially when we see people thriving in the gaming space. It's because an opportunity presented themselves instead of going, I don't know, or this, I don't even want to go in there. Like you said, this is an opportunity. I'm going to explore it. Let's move forward with this. And
Yeah.
that's what opens doors is
Yeah. You
not
have
being
to be open
afraid of
to
the
opportunity.
uncertain.
That
Yes.
is huge. My husband and I, we live by that. We've been married for 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, let's just stay open to opportunity. We've always talked about like, what if I got a job in London? Like, would we go?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? That'd be awesome. But we have this opportunity to move to Michigan and we were like, okay, like
You're like, we were ready to go to London, Michigan.
Michigan it is. That's
Okay.
now let's go. But like we started like the pros and cons list. We're like, wow.
Yeah.
Like the pro list was just so long. Yes, we miss family.
Yeah.
We miss our friends, my daughter, but this is a huge opportunity. It was an amazing opportunity. And we've kind of advanced in life a good,
Mhm.
plus 5 years and kind of our path that we wanted to be on. And
Right.
you got to be open to opportunity.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I was open to the opportunities that the gaming world was allowing me to experience,
Mhm.
and just being there in the moment and experiencing it, and it's opened a lot of doors. I've met some amazing people,
Yeah.
um, and had my own amazing experiences. So it's been really cool. Yeah, I
I
love it.
love that. I love that as you're pioneering this space, that it's not only fulfilling for the gamers that are impacted by this environment that you've created, but that it's also fulfilling for you because
Yes,
you're going above and beyond. Like as you mentioned, like this isn't your job. This is a
but it
passion.
is. But it is. Yeah, like I've made it a priority in my life, and the
Yeah.
people that are close to me that love me see how important it is
Mhm.
for these kids to have this space and for me to be able to do this and pursue this passion. And everybody's just been so supportive, which has been amazing. I see my my kid now in the chat. Um, that's cool. Uh, just I mean the fact that she's out there living her own life and she's still so supportive and proud of me. And I love that you use the word pioneering because it really does feel like that. I feel like I'm out in the Great West, discovering new lands and like things that have never been done that people have never done before. And I kind of fit into this world where in the education space, but they're all creating curriculums and with the kids every day, and I'm not. And it's just such a different space. It's exciting, but and they hit the red tape a lot of times trying to get things up and going. But they are experiencing similar things with these kids: the engagement, the leadership, uh, getting these kids to come outside of the box and find themselves in this new space. And it's been really cool working with all of the people that are in such a similar
Right.
um, area to what we're doing. So it's been
Well,
fun.
and it's a
Yeah.
reminder that as all of these organizations grow, yours included, they're not in competition with one another. They complement, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
as you're reaching
absolutely.
out to these students and you're developing, they can be a part of yours. And then as they go into high school, they can still be a part. As they go to college, they still go in like, hey, how's things
Yeah,
going? Right. Like everything works in this interconnected space
yeah,
to try to create better opportunities and better support and better environments for our
yeah.
gamers.
I'm happy to help schools
Mhm.
create programs as well. It's not going to take away from what I'm doing. It's
Yeah.
going to add to it.
Mhm.
Happy to talk to people that kids that are older, play gamers that are older that are going to college. That would be, you're talking about what do I see in the future? That would be another feather in the cap, is to be able to say that we've fed kids into collegiate programs.
Mhm.
I would love to be able to do that. We're connected. And maybe I don't know them personally, but the fact that we're in the esports space and I can go to the University of Minnesota and say, hey, head coach,
Yeah.
you do what I do. Would you come and talk to our kids?
Mhm.
Or I have somebody who's interested, or I know where these kids can go to create a profile so that they can start getting recruited for college.
Yeah.
Because that's what my son did. And I have that experience. Um, yeah, it's been really, really amazing. So that'd be another feather in the cap, is to be a feeder for collegiate programs. That would be pretty amazing.
Well, let's
Yeah.
let's look at this even beyond this initial focus. I want us to, especially as we begin to wrap this up, I want us to take a step back and see as you have this impact. Let's like pretending 20 years down the road, 50 years down the road, your organization and so many other organizations, where do you hope to see the gaming and especially esports space as a whole trend? Like we're talking overall,
Mhm.
not just like, yeah, we're feeding into scholarships, but when you look at this and you look at here's where esports is now and where do you want it to be different? Where do you say, I want to see growth here. I want to see something new in this space. I want to see what is it and how, of course, all of these effects that you're doing lead into that.
That is a huge question to think
Right.
about. So I do think about that sometimes when I'm
Mhm.
talking to people about what we're doing. I'm like, the pro space it's figured things out. The pro space exists.
Yeah.
They're figuring things out. They're organized. The collegiate space is getting there.
Mm-hmm.
It really is getting there. There are so many colleges, but they're starting to figure out, conferences and things like that. It
Mm-hmm.
really is getting organized. High schools are starting to catch on,
Mm-hmm.
really catching on, and really, and the kids, it's grassroots, it's boots on the ground. These kids are like, we want this, let's do it.
Yeah.
So they're creating these, student organizations,
Mm-hmm. And even
and
unofficial discords from time to time.
sure,
Yeah.
absolutely, which I don't recommend, but it happens. Um,
Mm-hmm.
um,
It's
get
better to have
messy.
it's better to have guidance, right?
Yes,
That's the
yeah,
key
that
thing.
that can get messy. Yeah, you don't
Yes.
want the toxic behaviors to take over.
Yes.
It's good to have
Mhm.
somebody in charge of that. But the middle schools is kind of messy. I mean, you get to middle school and it's just like, what do we do? These
Yeah.
kids are, in so many things. But I think that programs like NASEF are really putting the organizational patterns together
Mhm.
for programs in schools, for scholastic programs. And if people that want to start their own things will latch on to these organizations that are providing resources and providing networking connection opportunities, um, if all of the right people get talking to each other, I think some pretty amazing things can happen.
Yeah.
So, as this space becomes more organized because we're all talking to each other, I think that this high school, middle school level will start to get more organized, and you'll see growth. Um, you'll see impact. We'll start to see those engagement numbers, all of these, that data analytics will start to make sense, like really. And then what will happen, as someone said in the comments, we're going to start to help control those, not control, maybe that's not the right word, control those toxic behaviors and create a more positive gaming space for the
Yeah.
future.
We'll phase it out. We'll phase out that toxic, that it
Absolutely.
isn't the norm.
Absolutely. 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 So creating that positive experience, um, in the future moving forward, it's going to be great.
I like that. Right.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
that's the goal, right? Like as these organizations grow, they earn more funding, they become more solidified, they develop that history. It does. It creates structure that allows us to have better guidance and make sure good actors are in this place, right? Good voices and role models to say this is how we get to have conversations. This is how we act as gamers. And those who engage in toxicity, those that choose not to grow or
They won't be
improve,
included. Yeah.
right? Right. It's just like then this is not your place, right?
Yeah.
We get to
Yeah.
have a lot more
Absolutely.
guidance on that end. And that's where we get to those other areas of making sure everyone does feel welcome, that they get to have their space there, that they can grow and be who they want to be, explore careers from very early on. And that's where you begin now, right? And making sure that it is available, that it is welcoming, that it is an organization where everyone feels like they belong. That's one of the first stages of creating accessibility across the board. Like we look at esports now and we're like, yeah, you know what? There's not a lot of women involved, or there's not a lot of minorities or people of color in this space. It's like, well, where do we begin? Pulling in right now is going to be hard. Those pools are still small. It begins early on where they
Yeah.
see that they belong, and that's nurtured. And that's
Yeah.
that's
I
where
love that
you
word,
are at.
nurturing.
Yes.
Nurturing that space. Yeah.
Yes, you see it and it's not like, no, that's just a game, right? It's no, yes, this is more than just a game. This is a passion for you. Let's explore that passion. I'm going to show
Yeah.
you so many different ways. You feed into both their interests, their skills, and their emotions. And that's their holistic side. Right? It's
Yes.
not just like, I've got aggression and I want to play a game, or I just only want to play a game, or I only want to be emotionally
Bang it
engaged,
out.
right?
Yeah.
It's all of it. It's all of it. And by doing that, you pull more individuals who can be a part of it on different levels, on those degrees of diversity, and they stick with
Mhm.
it then.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
I'm so excited. I'm
I
so
love it.
excited for you all.
Thank
And I
you.
know we're still thinking of more and more names on this end. I think Scrib had mentioned one for Yell, Youth Esports and Leadership League, especially since you all been doing leadership. But that's the
Yeah.
idea, is right? You all could go so many different places with the name
Yeah, I was
now.
like, how do we combine youth development program, recreational esports, virtual national program? What acronym is that?
Yeah. You know what? Eventually your acronym's just going to be another sentence on top of it. But that's the hard thing, right? Like, how do you take something and you condense it, especially again, like it's easy to say like, I got an esports team, because at this point we have a general idea of what an
Yeah,
esports team
yeah.
is, but you are doing something
So
different. Yeah.
with all the ideas there, let me throw one out
Hmm.
that's kind of at the top of the list right
Ooh,
now.
okay,
And
okay.
I like that it's at the top of the list, and it's because of the definition behind the word.
Ooh.
Emergent Esports League.
Oh,
So to be emergent
okay.
is in the environmental space,
Yes.
it's the tree that grows the tallest out of the forest. It's the one that is coming
Ooh.
up through all of the rest.
Oh, I love that visual. That
Yeah.
is inspirational.
So, oh, we got some
Ooh.
oohs and some wows there. Yeah.
Ooh.
So
Yes. We're like
we
in a
still have our
fireworks show right now.
EEL. We still have our eel with the EEL,
Yes, yes.
but we are developing these emergent
Mm.
gamers
Mm-hmm.
in the esports field.
Yes. I think that's great. Yes, you could do a lot of fun things. And that's the idea, is you emergent gives you a lot of leeway in changing how you want to grow. And it doesn't pin you down to say like this is the one thing.
Yeah. In the
That's
gamer
important.
world too, emergent gameplay is playing the game creatively and not necessarily the way it was built to be played.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So that fits too.
Oh, that does. I see. You're like, yeah, I see that. I see that. And that's the big thing is
Like,
finding values. What reflects the heart of your
yeah,
organization?
yeah.
Mm.
So we're leaning that way. We might be,
Okay.
I don't
Yeah,
want
yeah, yeah.
everybody
Well,
stealing our Instagram or anything. But
but this is good. This is good. Okay. So it's not officially announced as to what it is yet.
no.
Brainstorming still in play.
Yeah.
So when it does officially get announced, where do we get to find this? Where can
So,
we
oh, that's
discover?
great. Yeah. So we have a very active Facebook group. And
Mm-hmm.
I know not everybody's on Facebook in our demographic, but the parents are. So
Yes.
that's where we go. So we have our Facebook group. So join our Facebook group because that's where things get announced. We also have a website.
Mm-hmm.
It is still Eastside eSports .org is our
You'll have to buy a
website.
new
And you
domain.
can
Yeah.
see pictures of our you can see pictures of our staff team, our all of our volunteer helpers.
Mm-hmm.
I try to keep the calendar up to date. You can see our vision and our mission and things like that. We also have a store where you can buy the jersey and like merch and stuff. But with the name change, I would say hold off and because we're gonna very appreciative of Skulls. Want to give a shout out to Skulls for helping us design our jersey. The eel is
Ooh.
really cool. It kind of like the eel design goes all the way around the back. It wraps and stuff. It's cool.
It keeps going.
Yeah.
Listen, maybe one day you might get a tattoo of it.
I mean, I'm not against tattoos,
All
so
right, for the
I'll
right
give my
thing.
daughter any ideas.
Well, I've thrown both the Facebook and the website onto the chat
Perfect.
for us. So y'all make sure you go to the page. And the nice thing also on the website in the top right corner, there's Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube link, which makes it an easy hub. So if you're like,
Yeah.
where am I going to go? Here's where you can go. Easy click, go to one place, and you can click to
Yeah.
all the other places on top of it. And that's the thing, right? As we mentioned, you're trying at this point to get your voice out there. Be loud. Let gamers know, hey, this is a place. Let parents know you have kids that are interested in. Put them into this. This is a national program that is open for every gamer. Every what was the age group? You focused on 8 through
8
14?
to 17. 8 to
17.
17 is what's available. We but the kids were getting kind of 8 to 14ish.
Mm-hmm.
I tried a little bit younger when my daughter was 6. It's like herding cats. They don't have a attention span.
A 30-minute
So
talk through is a lot for them.
it's a lot for them. So we cut it at 8. I
Okay.
think it's a good age where they can pay attention for the educational piece, and then
Mm-hmm.
they're also kind of in that growth spot where they're learning about learning about themselves. So it's a little better. And then I'd love to have a varsity team of kids, 14 to 17 that are competing with high schools at that high school level
Mm-hmm.
and feeding into those collegiate programs. So that's definitely part of the dream. And I love it when people reach out to me directly too. So just our email, Eastside Esports League at gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
Reach out to me directly if you want to talk more about the program, how you can get involved, how your kid can be involved. Um, it's I love talking about it, so don't mind any questions that anybody has.
Send those conversations, right? Like that's the
Yeah,
idea. Like let's
yeah,
talk. Let's see where
bring
we
it
can
on.
move from that. And I did
Mhm.
notice, of course, that email, if anyone didn't write it down, it's on the website. If you just scroll down
Yes,
to the footer.
yes. Everything is everywhere.
Everything
And I
is
saw
everywhere.
somebody liked and followed the group. There should be a way you can join the group also, and
Mm,
that way you're actually getting to participate in conversation.
even better. Even
Yeah,
better. I love that. Yeah, Penguin makes a good point. If you do buy any of the merch, they'll become collector items
that's right.
eventually.
This is
So,
esports. It'll
yes, we
be
love that.
vintage.
Yes. Yes. Not a competitive Viva Pinata players. Not a lot. Not a lot yet. Yet. All right.
Hey, if they want to play it, we can do it. That's the main question I always get. What games are you playing? So
Hmm.
Rocket League, Fortnite, Minecraft. Sometimes we just hang out and play Fall Guys.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just hang out and play the whatever game is on Discord, like
Hmm.
the meme games and
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
But sometimes I just want to chill and veg. But
Hmm.
that Discord is their space. It's available for them 24/7 as long as their parents are moderating their gameplay outside of league time.
Yeah.
The kids go in and play play games together all week long. They're in there. Times I hear my son playing and he's like Zombie Cat and Joe Solo and all these, like I was like, oh, you're playing with your esports kids, your friends. And so they're in there playing, and they're in that safe space where they know each other and they can chat
Yes.
and be silly and be
Mm-hmm.
kids,
Yes.
um,
What
and
a
have fun.
what a good final note is that they can be kids, right?
Yeah.
As gamers, you can be in a place where it's safe and you can be yourself. That
Yeah.
is such an important takeaway.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today.
you for
This is
having me.
amazing. I love and I'm so excited to see as this national tackle will just take over our country. All right,
I
we're
hope
going to
so.
see it everywhere. Right, but that's the goal, right? As we continue to
Yeah.
support and encourage, we all help each other out. We continue to push because we see the gaming space. We want it to thrive. And selfishly, even as I tell my students, right? Like I invest in them and I want them to be awesome and amazing because then in turn they make my gaming world better and awesome
Right.
and amazing. Like it's more exciting for me. It's more welcoming for me. And as we invest, we create it so more people can be a part of it. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for keeping this momentum going of putting your energy, your skill set, your passion into this time and time again. Your sacrifice is so appreciated. So kudos to
Thank
you.
you.
Everyone, make
That's
sure if you're not following Eastside Esports, soon to
Yeah.
be changing, now you need to. Stay in the know, stay in the support, give any follows, any likes, anything that you can to continue to amplify their voice. Any
And
final words?
thank you to you and the GameHERs providing a space like this for us to be able to talk about it. Because we talk to whoever we can, and you guys are providing a platform that's just such an amazing opportunity. So thank you.
Of course, of course. And we got to talk a little bit about Pokemon.
Yes.
Remember, if you see them at any con, then you get a Pokemon card. So,
Free Pokemon
little
cards for
extra
everybody.
bonus.
And bring me your bulk cards too. If you have bulk Pokemon cards, we'll take your donations.
Perfect. I'm so glad you just said that. I have some.
Awesome.
All right, friends, we'll close out this wonderful episode of Pink Pixels. You all were amazing. We have one more episode in our Educate Hers series, so we'll see you all next week. Bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
everybody. Bye.